In this video, I want to go over the pros and cons for both digital downloads and print on demand when selling on Etsy and talk about which one I think is better. Hello everyone, my name is Mike. I'm a full-time print on demand seller. I make YouTube videos showing you how to make more money on merch on demand and Etsy. If you like this kind of content, you get any value out of this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the bell, and like the video. Now, before we go over those pros and cons for both digital downloads and print on demand products on Etsy, just want to do a quick sales update for merch on demand on Etsy. So today is Friday, May 9th, 6:05 a.m. in the morning, and yesterday had a really good day. Ended up doing 65 sales and $189 in royalties. That is going to put me at 415 sales for the month and $939 in royalties. And Etsy, I also had a really good day too. So I ended up doing 14 sales and $331 in revenue. Now this is revenue, is not profit. I profit around 45 to 50%, just depending on what I sell, because I sell both digital downloads and print on demand products in my shop. But I ended up having a really big order. Someone ended up buying 8 t-shirts in a health and awareness niche. So I ended up profiting, like, it was like a $200 order, ended up profiting like $100. But here's some of my other orders. That was probably like a mug, another mug. Actually didn't really have too many digital downloads. Well, there's ones yesterday. So majority of the sales came from print on demand. And if we take a look at my month, that is going to put me at $1,348 in revenue, which is actually 1% decrease from last year, and 58 orders, which is also down 6%. Now, if you want to follow me on Instagram, where I post my daily sales for both merch on demand and Etsy, the link is in the description. I also post like gym pics, family pics, entrepreneur pics, just like my life down here in Mexico. I'm born and raised in Mill Valley, California, but I've been living in beautiful Puerto Vallarta, Mexico for the past 19 years, almost 20. So let's go ahead and start off with the pros for print on demand. And my favorite pro for print on demand is the large margin. So, the way print on demand works is someone will buy a t-shirt for like 30 bucks or whatever, and then you will find a fulfillment company and you actually buy that t-shirt for like $10, and then you will ship it to them, and then you will basically profit the margin. Now, those are just example numbers. It's not always like that. To be honest, the majority of my t-shirts, after it's all said and done, after net and advertising, is about $8 a pop. But still, $8 is pretty good, especially if you can get 2 or 3 in one order. If we look at my stats from last month, from April, I actually had an order where someone bought 20 mugs. It was like a $400 order, and I profited almost $300, from that. And that kind of takes me to my second pro for print on demand, is the diverse amount of products that you can sell. So, you can sell, or I sell, t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, sweatshirts, and that's just for clothing, and there's more, but those are like the main ones, at least for me. But also mugs. Ever since I started selling mugs, I started liking print on demand a lot better, because they just sell so well, and there's big profit margins on mugs. I make about, it depends on what they buy, whether it's an 11 ounce or a 15 ounce. It depends on whether there's like sales tax, but like roughly, I would say like an approximate number would be about $12 a mug. And so I love selling mugs because I make just a nice good profit margin on them. So you can get lots of orders, or you can make big margins with print on demand. There's lots of diverse products. Like I also do stickers. That's another one, even though those don't really make too much money. That's another good print on demand product. Some other ones that not too many people know about are going to be blankets and aprons. Aprons sell really well, especially if you can find a good niche where people need aprons. Think about people that work, that need to use aprons. So I've been able to get some good sales in those niches as well. But by far, definitely sell the most t-shirts and mugs. Those are my 2 favorite print on demand products. But that is the second pro, is a diverse amount of products. And I'm just looking at my notes here, and I have big orders. So, I kind of already mentioned that, but you can just get large amount of orders. In the intro, you saw that I had 8 t-shirts in just one order. So big margins, big orders, lots of diverse products. Print on demand, is just a great way to, get sales and make money online. And those are my 3 biggest pros for print on demand. Now let's go ahead and start talking about the cons, because there's nothing is perfect. Everything is going to have its pros and cons, whatever it is in life. And so the cons for print on demand is that the customer service. There's going to be people that are not going to like what you received. maybe they ordered a large, but they needed a medium, it doesn't fit or whatever. So, you have to deal with returns. So that's a pain in the butt. And when you deal with returns, depending on how you have your shop set up, you might lose money. That happens to me all the time because I accept returns. So, they want, they ordered a large, but they needed a medium. And so now I have to send out a medium and I have to eat that cost. So I basically don't make any money, or a lot of times I'll lose money. Now it's not going to like make or break me. It's going to maybe be like $5 or $10 loss. So that is kind of a pain in the butt. That's probably my biggest question I get when people ask me about print on demand. They're very concerned about, the returns. And to be honest, yes, I do get returns, but it's very small amount, especially with Printful, because Printful just is never has any problems, at least for the most part. Very, very small percentage. So returns, I would say probably if I get 100 orders, I'm probably getting maybe 4% returns, 3% returns is a small amount, and I definitely would not let that deter you from starting print on demand. The returns, yes, it is part of the business. Yes, it happens, but it's it's every now and then. But it is a pain in the butt. I have to basically resend out the order. They want to ship it back. It's just a big mess, and then I end up losing money. So I'd say that would probably be the biggest con for print on demand. The second one is that, it's very competitive. Everybody's doing print on demand. Everybody's selling t-shirts, and so there's a lot of competition. So this is where you have to get kind of savvy in the print on demand space, and you have to find, niches that are low in competition. Check out my school community. You got some good niches in there that will help you. Link is in the description. But I would say those are the two biggest cons for print on demand. Just very competitive, and the customer service, having to deal with returns. Well, but one thing I do like about mugs though is that the returns are very low. And the reason that the returns are so low is because, it's not a t-shirt. It's not like you don't wear a mug, obviously. Now there are returns with mugs, but it's very low. I'd probably say it's 1%. And the only reason there is returns with mugs is because sometimes the mug will break. So it will arrive and the handle will be busted off. But with Printful, it's very low. It does happen, but it's very low. And the good thing about Printful is if it does happen, all you got to do is just have the customer send you a photo of the broken mug with the design on it, and they will refund it. Every time they've refunded it for me, never had a problem, and they will ship a new one out or just give you your money back, whichever one you desire. So those are the cons for print on demand. The customer service, and losing money on returns. All right, now let's go ahead and start talking about the pros of selling digital downloads on Etsy. And I would say that probably, the number one pro for selling digital downloads on Etsy is that it's just so hands off. All you have to do, for the most part, is just basically create the listing. And then once you start getting sales, that's basically it. The customer is going to make the purchase, and then they're going to be able to download their digital file on the Etsy homepage from their account, and you don't have to do anything. It actually kind of reminds me a lot of Merch on Demand. The only thing that's better with Etsy is that you actually get paid the next day as long as your royalties or your revenue is more than $25. You just have to set it up in settings. But if I sell $50 of, or more than $25 of digital downloads, I'm getting paid the next day. With Merch on Demand, you actually have to wait, at least a minimum of a month. But I just love how hands off it is. It's a lot more passive than print on demand. With print on demand, you have to, fulfill the order. So that means you have to take money out of your bank account. You have to spend the time fulfilling the order. And so there's a cost and time with that. Digital downloads, they just buy it and you get the money the next day. So it's just so hands off. And then the other thing that I would also say is a pro. I'm just looking at my notes here. Is there's no customer service. It's very rare, but for the most part, you're not going to ever have the customer sending you messages saying, hey, where's my order? Where's my tracking number? Oh, this didn't fit. I want a refund, blah, blah, blah. It does happen, but it's very, it's very low. The percentage is very low. Sometimes you're going to get a customer that says, oh, where they want to know where their product is because they think they bought something that's physical, or they don't understand that, or they don't know how to download their file from the Etsy homepage. So you just have to basically just tell them that, this is not a physical item, this is a digital download, and you have to basically download it and print it. So, and you can have a message set up in your messages, so you can just, type it out once, and anytime you need that message, you can just basically just select it so you don't have to type it out each time. But those would be my biggest pros for digital downloads, just how hands off it is and how there's no customer service. Now let's jump on over to the cons of digital downloads. I'm just looking at my notes here. So I'd probably say the biggest con for digital downloads is that, it's the royalties, or the profit is low. The majority of all digital downloads in general, not all, but for the most part, the majority are going to be selling. You're going to be making like $3 to $5, all right, per digital downloads. Now, if you can get one to take off, then yeah, that's going to be great. But in my experience, it's been a little harder to make money with digital downloads compared to print on demand, just because the margins for print on demand are so large for the most part, especially with mugs. And also, there, just like print on demand, there's a lot of competition. If you take a look at resumes on Etsy, there's just going to be no way that the majority of us are going to be able to compete with that. So you're going to have to again, be savvy and find these niches that are low in competition. So those would be my biggest cons, is just low royalties, competitive. It's a little harder to make money. So now that we know what the pros and cons are for both print on demand and digital downloads, let me go ahead and give you my final conclusion on which one I think is better. Now, full transparency, I do both. My shop is a hybrid shop. I started off with print on demand, but I also wanted to sell digital downloads. I didn't want to make a brand new shop because I already had all these reviews on my shop, so I thought that would help. So I have both digital downloads and print on demand products on my shop. But if someone had to put a gun to my head and said, hey, you can only sell one, or if Etsy sent me an email saying, hey, you can only sell physical or digital, you have to pick one, it would be a tough decision. I'm not going to lie, because, I get sales in both, but I would probably go with print on demand because, just make more money. If I look at my sales from, let's just go to last month. Actually, this is the last 30 days. It's kind of like last month. But last month, if you look at my YouTube video from the other day from my royalties for April, I profited $1,500 on Etsy. And 1,000 of that was from print on demand, and 500 was from digital download. So that is why I would go with print on demand over digital downloads, even though I love selling digital downloads just because it's so hands off, so easy peasy. But in my experience, it's just been easier to make money, because that's why I'm doing this, obviously, to make money, things like that. So I would go with print on demand just because I can make more money. All right, so let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you like selling better? This is just my experience, so there are some people that think digital downloads are way better, and that's totally cool, to each their own. But this is just my experience on selling on Etsy. And if you are selling on Etsy and struggling to get sales, whether it's print on demand or digital downloads, consider checking out my Skool community. If you don't know what Skool is, it's basically a paid Facebook group, but on steroids. So here it is right here. Print on demand and digital download prompts. So basically every day you're going to get 4 print on demand niches and prompts, and then 4 digital download niches and prompts that you can use for merch on demand or Etsy. You can see I have 87 members. It's a free trial, so you can sign up for free, see how you like it. You also get access to all of my information in the classroom section. So I have a whole bunch of educational content. Oh, I got a sale on merch. I have a whole bunch of educational content on merch on demand and Etsy. Just a lot of good resources. And then you get access to my, I think it's 18 GPTs now. So these ones are my favorite. The 3 at the top right here, or these ones right here, where they will actually write your listings for you, whether it's merch on demand or Etsy, and whether it's print on demand or digital download products for Etsy. So if you're interested, check it out. The link will be in the description and the pinned comment. Again, it's a free trial for 7 days. If you like it, you can sign up. If not, you can cancel. We're still friends. And if you're not interested in Skool, that's totally cool as well. I will continue making free videos on YouTube. So make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And make sure to watch this video right up here somewhere, where I will show you how one of these Etsy GPTs actually works. Okay, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Adios.